Yeah, tell them to come in. I'm going to do the proclamation first, then we'll do the pledge. Okay. Okay, so we are live. Let me just join the meeting. 1 second. Hi. Okay. So tonight we have a special proclamation. We're going to be honoring the Girl Scout Troop 65377. So counselors, this is a special proclamation because after we present the troop and their leader with their proclamation, they're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance when we start our formal meeting. So I'm going to read the proclamation for you all. You can actually come forward right up to this podium over here. And when it's time to do the pledge, which isn't just yet, I'll call you up here. But for now, we're just going to honor you with this special proclamation. So it's sponsored by myself and all counselors. I'm going to read it into the record, and then we'll have a few remarks, and we'll start the meeting. So whereas the Springfield City Council is always pleased to recognize a youth organization as they pursue a significant milestone in their journey of development, and whereas tonight the Girl Scouts of Central and Western Massachusetts, Troop 65377, will lead the Springfield City Council in the Pledge of Allegiance in pursuit of their democracy badge, very important badge, and whereas the organization is founded on the Girl Scout Law and Pledge, and Troop 65377 is a multiple-level troop of brownies and juniors who strive to meet and live by the promise and law. And whereas each year, Troop 65377, led by troop leader Pamela Chapman, strive to obtain various badges by completing tasks and assignments relative to the particular badge they're seeking. And whereas within the last year, Troop 65377 made and delivered Valentine's Day cards to seniors at the Raymond Jordan Senior Center on Earth Day, the girls picked up numerous bags of trash and planted several daffodils to beautify areas within the city of Springfield. They marched in the Veterans Day Parade, stopping along the way to thank veterans for their service, and they hiked along Mount Tom KB Trail to appreciate nature. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Springfield City Council hereby recognizes, honors, and commends the Girl Scout Troop of Central and Western Massachusetts, 65377, for continuing to build courage, confidence, and character, and trying to make the world a better place. A proclamation sponsored on October 21st, 2024, in honor of Girl Scout Troop Central and Western Mass 65377, sponsored by the City Clerk, myself, and all counselors. Congratulations. So, Ms. Chapman, if you'd like to say a few words about, the girls and the democracy badge that they're trying to earn here tonight, we'd welcome you to come right forward to that microphone. You got to turn it. There's a little button you have to push to turn it on. It's the animated face with the, there you go.
All right.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, so our troop is relatively new. We're just entering actually our second year. We started out with 3 girls, and now we have 12, you can see. And we decided to keep going. We were just going to stop it, like we had brownies. We were going to stop it at brownies and just have juniors, but these girls are all fantastic, so there's no way we could just stop, So we're taking them all in at any ages. The democracy badge, we thought it was a good year to try this because it is a very important election year, right, ladies? Yes, it is. So that's why we decided to call to see could we come and see what goes on in these city meetings as part of the democracy badge. So thank you for having us.
Well, thank you. So we invite all the girls to come forward. You can meet the counselors. We've got about 5 minutes before we start the meeting. And then when it's time to start the meeting, I'll gavel it closed and you can come lead us in the pledge. So come on up and we'd all love to meet you.
Frosties from Wednesday and Wednesday. No, Wednesday. They have Wednesday things out. Or Wednesday.
Okay, so you get to hit the gavel a couple of times to get everybody's attention. Oh, right here. Hit it right there. Yeah. Again. 1, 2, 3. Like this. Go. Can you do that? Good. Good job. Okay, we're gonna call the meeting to order, everybody. Yep, the Girl Scout troop can line up right here behind me. Okay, so we've got a couple of Girl Scout troop participants to come join us. Come on up, ladies. Okay. Let me know when ready, George. Okay. We're going to call this meeting of the City Council to order. Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, October 21st. The time is 6:02 p.m. We have a regular scheduled meeting of the council. Madam Clerk, we've got a special treat tonight that the Girl Scout Troop 65377 is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. But first, girls, there's a couple things we got to do. We're going to let the clerk call the roll, which is attendance for all counselors. We do a moment of silence, and then I'll ask you to do the pledge, okay? So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Counselor Walsh.
Present.
Present. Counselor Allen.
Present.
Present. Counselor Delgado.
Present.
Present. Counselor Click Bruce.
Present.
Present. Counselor Govan.
Present.
Present. Counselor Brown. Counselor Brown? Absent. Counselor Davila?
Present.
Present. Counselor Curran? Absent. Counselor Santinello? Absent. Counselor Edwards?
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield? Absent. Counselor Perez?
Present.
Present. Counselor Fenton?
Present. Will the council and our guests please rise and join us in a moment of silence? Okay. Please remain standing, and the Girl Scout troop is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll look at the flag right here, girls, okay? Whenever you're ready, you can lead us in the pledge.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very nice job, girls. I think you've all earned your democracy badge. So you can go right back up. Thank you, girls. Beautiful job. Okay. Thank you very much, Pam Chapman and Troop Leader, for helping us with that today. Madam Clerk, will you, the first item is, are there any reports of committee this evening? Yes. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met this afternoon or a couple hours ago. We had Councilors Delgado and Edwards from the committee and Councilors Perez and Davila. I don't think there was anybody else there from the council. I'm sorry, LeVar. Councilor Click Bruce was there as well. We had a good meeting. We went through the whole agenda. We had some interesting items and some discussions on them, but all in all, it was a good, productive meeting. And the Finance Committee voted to accept and accept all the items that were there and take them to the full council.
Thank you, Chairman Allen. Any other reports of committee? Okay, do you have another report?
Well, I think it would be Councilor Brown really that would give it, but we had a joint meeting last Tuesday of Finance and Maintenance and Development. It really was more of a Maintenance and Development meeting because it was about Chris Signoli's, suggested changes to solid waste procedures and fees and stuff. I don't have much more. I thought Councilor Brown would probably give the report, but I just want to make sure it gets recorded. I don't know everybody who was there at the meeting, but we had a good discussion of Chris Signoli's.
Councilor Brown's here, and he is
Great.
raising his hand. So.
Great. Okay. Excellent.
Okay. Councilor Brown?
Thank you, Mr. President. As my colleague did say, that we did have a joint meeting with Chris Signoli, and we did discuss the different trash fees and the different things we're going to do as far as implementing new trash rules and policy. Well, not new, but doing different things as far as existing policies and how we're going to implement them. It was a good discussion. Councilor Perez, Councilor Govan, Councilor Allen, I want to say was present. And I know it's still going to be a matter that we probably still will have to talk about a little bit more. But all in all, it did go well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor, is that matter staying in committee tonight, or is that being brought out and presented to the council? Well, I guess both Councilors Brown and Allen. I mean, you get to decide.
Yeah. Councilor Brown, I felt that it could go forward. I know Mr. Signoli, certainly, I think he'd like to see it go forward. And I don't remember any reason that came up to hold up on it, but you may have more information than I do.
Like my colleague said, I know we had a few questions and things like that, but with nothing that wasn't really addressed where I don't think that we'd have to keep it in committee. It could come out of committee.
Okay, so we've got it on the agenda, so we'll hear those points later tonight. Councilor Perez?
Yes, as being part of the committee, I think all the questions were answered at the time. There was some concerns, but they were answered, and I feel comfortable that we could move forward
Okay,
out of committee. Thank you.
thank you. Councilor Davila? Okay, Councilor Davila, and then we'll get to Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. The General Government Committee met today. We're discussing amendment to Article 5 of Chapter 385 of the ordinance of the City of Springfield, particularly Section 385-17A for the veteran use of municipal parking meters. In that meeting today, we did vote to elevate this to the chambers for the next regular meeting, which is going to be on November 18th. We did approve 2 amendments on this. One of them is to include, aside from city parking meters, to include city-owned garage parking. As it comes to find out, the city actually only owns one, and that is the one on Union Station, which is completely being underutilized right now. If anything, it will only help to bring more traffic in that area. Also, we are going to clean up a little bit of the language. Right now it says veterans play, but also we want to make sure that all veterans are included. Come to find out that there's a plethora of plates, and we want to make sure that everybody, including plates that includes combat wounded, Bronze Stars, Silver Stars, Purple Hearts, and all the plates are there that reflect that you are veterans. So we want to wrap it up to make sure that everybody's included. One of the things that I do want to say as a side note, Mr. President, is that during this meeting, it came up with a conversation about the real need that the parking authority has to automate and actualize their software department, their software, to ensure that people can efficiently pay for parking meters. So we're going to be looking into that. I did make a commitment to the parking authority to hold a meeting on that, maybe in conjunction with either the finance department or even economic development, to start looking at that other aspect that came in as a side discussion in this meeting today. And that's the report, and we're looking forward to pass second and third step on November 18th. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. President. The Environmental and Sustainability Committee met on October 15th, and I apologize, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I believe that Councilor Allen was there, and I'm not sure if any other councilors were there. If it's all right with you, Mr. President, and Madam Clerk, I could send you the notes. We did talk about the urban woodlands ordinance that we are looking forward to. We did get a draft from Attorney Shea after the meeting, so we're going to be meeting in 2 weeks to continue that conversation. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Madam Clerk, will you please recognize the councilors in seats number 1 and 9?
Councilor Walsh?
I've already checked in, I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You did.
Maybe I missed that, sorry. Councilor,
And then,
just Brian and Mala, we got to check in.
yes, so Councilor Brown is present,
Present.
and Councilor Santinello.
Present.
Present.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any more reports of committee? Okay, seeing none. First item, Madam Clerk.
First item is informational item, September revenue versus expenditure report.
Good evening, Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight I'm presenting the September revenue versus expenditure report. It represents the first quarter of fiscal year 2025. As you can see, our revenue is at $244.8 million, or 26% of budget, and our expenditures are at $323.5 million, or 34% of budget. As I mentioned last month, the net school spending carryover amount was finalized in September. You will see that on the report. It is slightly above $19 million, and that has been added to the school department budget.
Any questions on the report? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Report is accepted. Item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Item number 2 is the state election warrant for the November election.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
The state election will be held November 5th of this year. All counselors have been, we shared the election warrant with the counselors, which details the ballot questions as well as the candidates that are going to be on the ballot this election. The polls haven't changed since approval for the September primary election. Everything remains the same. The only change that I would highlight would be polling hours. We've increased our polling hours for early voting from 1 week to 2 week based on the state law. All cities and towns have to do it across Massachusetts. And so far as of today, just to kind of report out, we have a little over 800 in-person early votes that have been cast in the past 3 days. So it seems to be a popular choice this election time. And approximately 16,900 vote-by-mail ballots that people have requested. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty big turnout this election.
That's wonderful, wonderful. Okay, any comments or questions on the warrant? Counselor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam Clerk, ideally, how many ballots were requested?
So far, it's close to 17,000, a little over 16,900.
Is that a record?
It is for this, well, not really because of COVID. We had about 26,000 that election.
Right.
What is a record is we've had more in-person early votes over the first 3 days of early voting than we've ever
Will you
had.
be able to tell me how many in person we have so far?
806 as of today. So over just the last 3 days.
I do believe, Madam Clerk, you said that you're going to be increasing 2 weeks earlier.
So we started this past Saturday. We had 2 voting sites over at Greenleaf and City Hall. And then Sunday, just City Hall. And then every single day until November 1st, there's going to be early voting at City
Right.
Hall.
And you're going to be okay on your budget to absorb that extra cost?
So far, so good. The CAFO has been great in checking in with us. We've been meeting with her prior to the election. And the state is also going to be reimbursing us for all our early voting costs.
Wait, how much are we looking at roughly?
For the amount that we're spending, that I do not have an estimate for yet.
Okay, all right. Just out of curiosity, when you get a chance, I would love to hear
Sure.
what the is. It's definitely money well spent. But thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Davila. Any other questions about the warrant? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
On approval of the warrant, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Warrant is approved. Madam Clerk, do you have the 7 signatures you need yet?
I do.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Item number 3, Madam Clerk.
Item number 3 is for private acceptance, petition 10,304.
Mr. Signoli?
Good evening, councilors. Chris Signoli, DPW Director. The petitions in front of you for tonight are 6 streets. Over the past year and a half, we have reconstructed these 6 streets from dirt roads into public roadways that meet public standards. As part of the design work, we did all of the meets and bounds. So with the council's approval, we will get this to Mass DOT, which will increase our roadway length that goes into our Chapter 90 calculation. Over the next few months, I will be bringing you a bunch of others where we've done improvements on private ways throughout the city over the last year or 2 as well, that we still have to do survey on to get meets and bounds But this is the first 6 that we have completed to bring in front of the council tonight for your approval.
Any questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Counselor Walsh.
Point of order.
Yes.
Sorry about that, Counselor Walsh. Hang on. Counselor Brown had his hand up. I missed it. Go ahead, Counselor Brown.
I just have a quick statement. I don't think people realize, well, people must realize now, this project is going up fast. I want to thank Chris for the work that you're doing. This is definitely improving the quality of life for a lot of residents. And a lot of the roads improvements, I just want to thank Chris for the work that he's doing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Counselor Brown. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santinella.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more insufficient. Private ways are accepted. Item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Number 4 is for a DPW MassWorks Infrastructure Program grant, no match required, in the amount of $2.8 million.
Mr. Signoli.
Good evening, councilors. Chris Signoli, DPW Director. The DPW has been awarded $2.8 million from the state of Massachusetts as part of a MassWorks grant for the reconstruction of West Street, which is actually West Street and Plainfield Street from Main Street to the North End Bridge. I believe 3 years ago, we were awarded a grant of $400,000 for the design. So we have completed the design, and with this money, we'll be able to get the project to construction. And we are also, I know it came up at one of the other meetings, we are coordinating with Mass DOT as the state is also in the process of redesigning for a brand new North End Bridge. So we're working with them on coordinating the 2 projects. That project will start in 2027. It will be a brand new bridge over the Connecticut River in the same spot, just wider. So this project will be able to work on that corridor. One of the main things in that corridor is improving pedestrian movement from the north to south and vice versa with all of the people that frequent the Pride Plaza over there. So one of the, obviously one of the big things there is the pedestrian improvements that are going to happen as well as the bridge work that will happen by the state.
Okay. Any comments
Mr.
or questions?
President?
Counselor Santinella.
Real quick question. Do we have an estimated cost on that bridge, what it would cost?
It's $100 million.
Whoa.
100 say that again, $100 million.
Yep.
And what's the time frame?
They will be starting construction in 2027.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the Counselor Perez?
Thank you, Mr. President. Chris, in the community, give you thanks because we've been involved in this project. I think that one of the biggest concerns with that crossing part at Pride, we had lost 2 lives for the records during the issue. So the community is excited about it, and finally, we are doing something with that crosswalk there. Now with the increase of the other business, is a very high safety issue. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Perez. Counselor Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I said this earlier to Chris. Kudos to you and your team on this. With the amount of activity happening in this spot, particularly with the Pride, but I also throw in the rowing that's going on the riverfront and the new school. So something like this being done is definitely needed, and particularly to echo my colleagues' sentiments in terms of safety and folks crossing right in the middle there. So I'm hoping I can see a left turn lane into that rowing spot. Yeah. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Counselor Delgado. Any other counselors on the grant? Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the grant, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan? Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran, absent. Counselor Santana?
Counsel, we please recognize Counsel
Counselor
Curran.
Curran present, and I would vote yes.
Counselor Curran present and yes. Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Grant is approved. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, items 5 through 8 are below our threshold. Can you please read them together?
Item number 5 is for Prevention and Early Childhood Services Grant increase, $60,000. Item number 6 is FY24 Senior Community Service Employment Grant increase, in-kind match required, $39,898. And item number 7 is FY25 LSTA Health and Wellness Grant, no match required, in the amount of $20,000. And the final one is an FY25 Libraries Cash Donation in the amount of $732.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on acceptance of the grants.
On acceptance, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Grants are accepted. Item number 9, Madam Clerk.
Item number 9 is for bond authorization for Harena School feasibility study in the amount of $2.5 million.
Hey, Mr. Garvey. Gonna turn the mic on, please, Peter. There's a button to turn the mic on. There you go.
There we go. Good evening, councilors. Peter Garvey, Director of Capital Asset Construction. We were accepted into the eligibility period for Harena School earlier this year. So one of the items that we need is funding for the feasibility study. So we are going to the board meeting. I believe we're going to the board meeting at the Mass School Building Authority in the December board. So we will be accepted into the feasibility study. So part of the eligibility study is putting together our educational profile, our maintenance and capital plan, our enrollment projections. So all this has been submitted by the school department. It's a lot of work that goes into the eligibility study. So the next step is the feasibility study. So we'll be hiring a designer, an OPM, and we'll be doing some investigative work on where we're going to put the school. The question is where's the school going? This eligibility feasibility study will steer us in a direction on where we're going. So this is the next step, is to get designers on board and move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. Any questions from the council? Councilor Perez?
So I have to say thank you, Peter, because as a former school committee member, that was my first priority, and the mayor of Springfield made that as a first priority. It's been 10 years or so in the making, and finally we're getting into one of the stage. It's still going to take 5 years, correct, Peter?
Correct.
But we are on the right side of the road when it comes to this project. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Delgado?
I just wanted.
That was me.
It's all good. Still getting used to it. I echo Councilor Perez's sentiments. Thank you, Peter, to the team. I mean, as somebody who grew up in Plainfield Street and knows the horrors of that building, this is decades in the making. You know, I'm glad that the hard work from folks in the community have been pushing this for so long, and I wish it would have happened a lot sooner, but the fact that we're at this point, this is definitely a much needed new building, particularly for kids who live in probably the poorest neighborhood in the state, right? And we have some of the highest asthma rates and some of the conditions that they've had to deal with in that school for decades. The fact that we're at this point, I'm excited. I mentioned this earlier, my daughter's fourth grade there, so she's not gonna see it, but I'm excited for all the future students of the Harena School Building. And I mentioned this to Peter earlier, but just wanna make sure that, Plainfield Street is split between 91, the railroads, and the river, and that Harena School is one of the key access points to get students and families from Plainfield Street to Main Street. So just want to make sure that we keep an eye on whatever happens with that form of building once it does go up, is making sure that there's still access points for folks to get to and from. So, but thank you for the hard work.
Thank you, Councilor Delgado. Councilor Allen?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. Just want to follow along. In the Finance Committee, we talked about this for a while. Pete did a great job of presenting it and also presenting, with the costs that are upon us for the two double schools that we just built and what this will eventually lead to in cost. So obviously it's a project that needs to be done. I love that school. When my son went there, whenever that was, 35 years ago. But it's obviously been kind of a problem situation ever since. So the big one, though, that's our next school. And it's you said it was a 5-year window for building it. So it's a big project, a lot of money. And appreciate you, Pete, for taking it to us. And good luck in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Curran?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I just want to echo what my colleagues are saying. Peter, you're doing a great job. If you look at the last couple of years, whether it's the Putnam, Brookings, the Brightwood School, Swan DeBerry School, and now this school, the city of Springfield is really leading the way in school construction. It's not an easy task to do, especially with rising building costs. But you and your team are really doing an outstanding job. And this is an exciting project, and it's really going to complement the Brightwood School. And so terrific, and certainly has my support.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Any other councilors? Councilor Delgado.
I did have one last thing, and I said this earlier. This is one of two buildings that were built in the 70s with this brutalist design that has had problems across the state. The other one is the courthouse. So I thought it was significant to understand that we've got two of those buildings that are potentially coming off. And Peter told me that there are no other buildings like that in the city. But I know that these buildings were designed, whoever got that contract in the 70s or whatever, they made out. But those have been problem buildings. So I just wanted to add that piece. Excited to get those off of our back.
Thank you, Councilor Delgado. Okay, seeing no other councilors, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the bond authorization.
On approval of the authorization, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yeah.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield, absent. Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Bond is authorized. Thank you. Item number 10, Madam Clerk.
Item number 10 is a supplemental budget increase in state aid in the amount of $587,478.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on this matter? Ms. Bono, want to sub in?
I'm online. I can take that.
Oh, hi, Pat. I didn't see you there. Okay, go ahead, Pat. You got the floor.
Hi, this is Pat Roach from the school department. Good evening, counselors.
Good evening.
This order it was a timing issue, happens every year. The city council approves their budget before the state has completed their budget. So when the state passed their budget, their chapter 70 number was a little higher. So this order will put the city in compliance with net school spending. And I'm happy to.
Any questions from the council for Mr. Roach? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yeah.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello. Counselor Santinello? Away, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Supplemental budget is approved. Item number 11, Madam Clerk.
Item number 11 is an order approving a 5-year time and attendance services for 5 years.
Is that you as well, Mr. Roach?
Yes, I'm happy to take that one. So we currently use Kronos for our timekeeping system. That's how we do time cards in the city, and Kronos has come end to life. So we need to find a new system. We went out to RFP and we had multiple companies submit proposals, and our team is recommending TCM. And when TCM gave us pricing, they gave us pricing for both 3 years as well as 5 years. And their 5-year pricing is $50,000 cheaper. So we're asking the committee to allow us to do a 5-year contract with them.
Comments or questions from the council? Okay. I just have one thing to say on this, Mr. Councilor Edwards, if you wouldn't mind coming up.
Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry to slow us down here, but Pat, did you say that you already went out to RFP with this and got the responses?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm very much in support of this tonight, and I just want to highlight for councilors that I have been on a crusade on this subject for the last 10 years about regularly being asked to approve over 3-year contracts before the bidding process has been complete. And we've been told more than once that you can't bid after you can only do the bidding after you've authorized the contracts for over 3 years. This is not happening in this case. It clearly can be done. Thank you for doing it that way, Patrick, and very much in support of this tonight.
Any other questions on the item? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you like to call the roll?
On approval, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yeah.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes, the vote is sufficient, the order passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Item number 12, Madam Clerk, our last item.
Our last item is an amendment to Chapter 327, Solid Waste.
Mr. Signoli.
I'm being heckled. Good evening, councilors. Chris Signoli, DPW Director. We have been in front of the council. This will be the third time for this item. We have had 2 subcommittee meetings that Councilor Brown and Councilor Allen talked about, the meeting we had last Tuesday. As we held that meeting, there has been 2 items that have come up. Number 1, Councilor Fenton had forwarded to me some additional language requests to incorporate into into the document. The language is already in there. I would just be moving it around a little bit. Item number 2 was asked to me by Councilor Davila, is with regard to the radioactive material and impact on employees. There is no impact to employees as we do not touch the material. What was asked about in the meeting was What that process is when we dump material at the transfer station in Agawam, the material is scanned. If it is determined to be radioactive, it is removed, quarantined, and sits until it meets the requirements to be able to be transported to another location and then burnt. The truck gets quarantined until that point, until the radiation comes down in the truck bed, because then it would contaminate other material. But as far as the employees, there is no impact to the employees whatsoever on that. So those are the two additional items that were either discussed right at the meeting or following the meeting. And obviously, the big item that we are looking for is an increase in bulk sticker for $8. And as I mentioned, the reason why we were going for $8 is that we can use the existing stickers. So if somebody buys a sticker and they end up not having to use it, they can then use it on another bulk item. But if they were to, say, be $10 or $12, then they would be stuck with that. If because what's happening now is sometimes vendors do, or I shouldn't say vendors, people do come and take some of the materials, especially older mattresses that may have a lot of metal in them, thinking that they're going to get some material for the metals. They may come and take them off the street. It doesn't happen a lot, but that way if a sticker is unused, that the resident can then use it for something else. So we were trying to go in multiples of $8. And what my goal is over the next 8 to 12 months to monitor the number of mattresses that we are dealing with in the city and that we're having to collect, which has skyrocketed, as I mentioned, to be able to hopefully get that number down in the future. I'm sorry, there's one other item that was asked, is that if in the future we don't bring it down, I think it was Councilor Davila who asked if there could be some language added if we didn't have to come back to the council to look for an increase again. My preference probably sometimes is not to do that. I would rather discuss increases with the council. We could put something in there, but I still think I would, at a minimum, I would do a notification to the council, because I think the councilors would need to know if residents are going to start getting charged for something else. So we can include that language in any way, shape, or form in there. My preference, obviously, is I still need to come to the council, because I do think you guys need to be aware of what we're proposing. So none of the language has changed since the first submission, so I would hope that we would be able to pass first step this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Signoli. And councilors? Councilor Perez.
Yes, I only have to make a statement. We had a couple of meetings. I was concerned about the increase by looking at the comparison of what is being charged in Chicopee and other city. I think that this is, I'm comfortable with it. When it comes to the increments, I recommend that it comes back to the city council because we could monitor the increments itself. I was called by some constituents because of the raising as a double, but looking at it, it works better for the benefit of the $16 versus having to buy tickets. So I wanted the public to understand what was the benefit in looking at the comparison of the city and towns when it comes to the increase of $16. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Any other councilors? Okay, Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Chris, I'm going to get to the radioactive material in a second, but I just want to go with you through two items. One is the appeals committee that you established in this ordinance. I've been looking for it, but I can't seem to find it. Can you point me to where it is right now?
The appeals process is not in the ordinance, it is in the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are not in the ordinance, so it came before you on the first meeting, but I was told it didn't need to come in front of the council because it's not an ordinance. However, the appeals process, I'm sorry, the appeals process is within the rules and regulation, which is a supporting document. What we added into that document was reasons why there could be trash service discontinued And then the appeals process has been in there. We didn't change any regulation or any of the items as part of the appeals process, other than in the original appeals process, it actually had a person's name that the appeal should go to. And what it is when a letter is sent by me or by the law department to an individual, it identifies the person who should be contacted by the property owner to begin the appeals process. So the appeals process was in there. I am not recommending any changes to that at this point.
My apologies. Chris, so the obligatory question is, unless I misunderstood you, which I don't think I did, when you and I spoke, I believe you said that you had no objection to it.
I'm sorry, Council.
Unless I misunderstood you, which I don't think I did, when you and I spoke specifically about the appeals process, and I had mentioned to you, as I mentioned to the council president, that I would personally feel more comfortable, because that document somehow made it to us, that we include a resident into this process. And I suggested at the time that it would be somebody, a city council appointee. I believe you said you have no objection to it. So
I don't have any issue with that, no.
who does?
Nobody that I know.
Did you just say you make no changes? You suggest no changes to it?
Right now, yeah, because I did not make any changes to this document to come before you tonight.
So, Mr. President, how do we go about making sure that happens?
I think what he's saying, Counselor, is that the appeals process is handled by the ordinance, and he's not making any ordinance changes. He's just talking about the rules and regs of the DPW. So you could do that under a separate ordinance amendment. Is that right, Chris?
Correct. And it's a separate document in support, so that can be modified at any time.
So that will have to be brought up separately?
It would.
Yeah.
Okay. Chris, can you and I work on that? Because I will feel much more comfortable if we have a resident, a neighborhood resident appointee by the council president, most likely coming from any of the civic associations that we have to fit in this appeal process, just to give the average Joe out there a direct participation into the government.
Yeah, I have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever.
Very well. Now, Chris, let's talk about the bulk item tickets. So you're suggesting two bulk item yellow tickets, that's $8 a piece, that's $16 per mattress, correct?
Per mattress.
Chris, can you put your microphone back on, please? Thank you.
Per mattress and per box spring, yes.
Right, and you mentioned that we're bleeding out $150,000 a year in mattress pickup, correct?
We're losing right now $150,000, yes.
That's a lot of money. Honestly, as I mentioned before, I don't feel comfortable with that amount, that we're losing money on that. I know you mentioned in the last several meetings we have had that we are among the cheapest in the area, correct?
We are the cheapest by far.
The cheapest, right. And so, Mr. President, at the right time, like I think I was Councilor Allen, I believe, that we were in sync, that it should be maybe $20, $25 per mattress, because it's still way cheaper as a way to recoup some of the $150,000 which we are losing, which is real money. We're not talking about some chunk change here. And I know people are going to say they're going to put some due burden on other people, but we also have a responsibility to ensure that we have the money in the coffers to continue to give the services which everybody expects the residents to receive. So that's why the items that I would like at the appropriate time, Mr. President, they're going to make a motion to make it $24 as opposed to $16. But before I do that, Chris, radioactive material, walk me through this. So you have a guy out there, they pick up the trash, they bring it to the Bundy's Island. Somehow all the bells and whistles go off over there, and it tells them that there's radioactive material there, correct?
Correct.
So that truck has to be put out of commission for 72 hours, correct?
At least, yes.
And the trash itself will have to be sorted out to figure out the source of that radioactive material, correct?
Correct. They stop everything at the transfer They stop everything at the transfer station at that point.
Right.
And it has to be gone through with specific Geiger counters, and that may take 2 to 3 hours while all the other trucks in the area, not just City of Springfield, are sitting there waiting.
Right.
So there's charges associated with that. So we end up having to pay for that. As I mentioned, that happens 3 or 4 times a year.
And I think within the ordinance, it calls for them to be fined the appropriate amount by DEP, correct?
Yeah, we end up having to pay fines through DEP for that, as well as payments that we need to make to our vendors as well. And then there's a secondary charge that comes in from a secondary private hauler that needs to take that material to a different location.
Right, so Chris, so now here we go with the, what is it called, Geiger counter?
Yeah.
Okay, am I pronouncing that right? Geiger counter? Okay, so we go with Geiger counter, we locate the trash, the source of the trash, then we have to go through that area to figure out what house it was, correct?
Yeah, each truck has as we're going through a particular day, we can narrow it down to a section of town that we knew that was picked up during that period of time. What we then do is the next week, we will go out, and prior to picking up that trash, we will go through virtually every barrel in that neighborhood with a Geiger counter to determine if there is radioactive material, because it will stay in the barrel for a while. And what we've done in the past is that we then notify the homeowner, tell them what happened, we let them know that they can't do it, we then give them some documentation to give to their doctors, whether it's their own doctor or a veterinarian for their animals. And at this point, I don't have any issue of issuing fines to those people. I want to be able to issue fines when it happens again.
Right. Now, I do believe that you say that most of this radioactive material is from animal source, correct?
It is probably 50-50.
50-50.
Animal sources and 50% human sources.
Right. Are we in communication with the area vets and the area chemotherapies and oncology centers to advise patients of their responsibility if they're getting a treatment at home or if they are disposing of any radioactive material?
Every time that it happens to us, it's impossible because there may be people in Springfield that are getting treatment in Hartford, Boston,
I see.
wherever. So what we do is we notify the homeowners, and then we try to put out as much notification citywide as we can
Right.
to be able to let people know not to do that, or at least make them aware of what the possibilities are.
Okay. Now, Chris, I want to concentrate for a quick second on the worker himself, because this is a health issue. Particularly for the worker, for the truck driver. There's such a thing as a lifetime of radioactive load, just like the X-ray technicians that, you know, whatever radioactive material they might be exposed at that moment is not harmful to the health. But over 15, 20 years, that does add up and it could become an issue to them, including giving them cancer, which we know we don't want for them. How are we tracking our DPW workers to ensure that they're okay with radioactive materials?
When our trucks are scanned, when they are brought to the landfill and it's determined that what we call hot loads for radioactive material, the entire truck is scanned. And then if it is determined that there is material that has made its way into the cab where the employee is, then there is a protocol that goes along with that. We have not had to deal with that to this date.
Ever?
Ever. Yeah, we haven't had to deal with that.
Okay. And so we go to the truck with a Geiger counter, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. When you mentioned that, I think we need to give them justice and to be fair to them, we needed to talk about them for a little while. Thank you, Chris, for that explanation. So, Mr. President, I think, at least from my perspective, everything looks pretty decent on this ordinance. However, I will make a motion that we increase the mattress disposal in Section A to 3 bulk stickers, which comes out to be $24, as opposed to 16, because for God's sakes, we're still the cheapest in the area. And so with regards to the appeals process, Chris, you and I can work that at a later time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I make
motion,
such
motion made by Councilor Davila. Is there a second to the motion? I will second the motion. Okay, Counselor Click Bruce?
Yeah, I just want really a statement. Councilor Davila, thank you for your due diligence and requesting the raising of, I guess, from 16 to 24, I guess, the suggestion. But I just want to be on the record. I mean, times are hard. You know, we're trying to get relief with taxes and, you know, different things, especially in certain communities. So does this have to be voted on today? Can this go to committee? Because I'm not prepared to say, let's go to 24 tonight. I will have to have more dialogue. I would like to at least involve the community more to get feedback on how they feel. So these are questions that I have because it's kind of been presented tonight.
Okay, Counselor Click Bruce, the motion on the floor would have to be acted on first unless it's withdrawn. So there wouldn't be an opportunity to make a motion to committee unless that motion was acted on first. We have a lot of people raising their hands. I just want to acknowledge that Counselor Brown has had his hand up for a while, so I'm going to call him. Counselor Davila also wants to speak again, and it's his motion, so we'll get back to him. But I also see Counselor Santinello and Govan. So we're going to go Brown, Govan, Santinello, then back to Davila. Counselor Brown.
And my hand is up too.
And Counselor Walsh's hand is not up, but she would like it to be, so she can go right after Counselor Santinello. Counselor Brown. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. What I really, my concern was, especially even with the increases on the, acting on the different increases, Chris, my main thing even for meeting was if we did an increase, even if we did any type of increases, I wanted to be able to now figure out how to calculate some of that, even as the city benefits on some of their what they're paying as far as overpaying. I wanted to give some of that to the seniors. I wanted to work the seniors somewhere in there as far as trash breaks and things like that. Whereas I agree with my colleague, Councilor Click Bruce, you know, times are hard. I always say if we're going to do it, just like Councilor Davila said, yeah, we can do it, but I want to make sure that if we do think about doing something like that, we're making sure that we're calculating a break as far as the trash fee when it comes to seniors and the elderly. That was kind of like my main concern when we even met in my subcommittee meeting, being able to now calculate some savings for the seniors. But that's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Brown. There was, I seconded it. Counselor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think for point of clarification, the increase today is $8. Is that correct?
Correct. The recommendation in the ordinance is for $8 additional to a total of 16.
Okay, so for a total of $16. And I guess I have the same concerns as everyone else as far as, you know, getting the right fee to the right people, because a lot of times I think we talked about in the subcommittee meeting that people come from out of town or property managers will get rid of mattresses because Springfield has such a low rate, making sure that we get the fees from the correct people. And I'm also I was going to comment on what Council Davila was talking about regarding the, you know, the radioactive materials. I want to thank him for bringing that up because that's something that's, you know, a serious issue. And if our employees are being affected and exposed to it, I want to make sure that we are on top of that. And it sounds like you are, Chris, so I appreciate that. I think that's what I wanted to say. And I had a question, but I actually forgot what it was. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Govan. Counselor Santinello.
Real quick question for Chris. Chris, if we raise this to $24, right, from the 16 that you're recommending?
Yes.
Would that increase more people dumping mattresses?
I hope not.
No, I'm asking.
Chris, can you put your microphone?
I hope not, but it probably will increase some of the dumping across the city. There has not been as much mattress dumping around the city as I thought. We don't pick up a lot of it. A lot of it is picked up by Clean Cities, but I know in my conversations with Tommy McCarthy, they haven't seen a huge spike in mattresses over the last couple years, and they're having to pay, I want to say, $75 or $100 to get rid of a mattress because they're getting rid of it as trash. And since it's a banned item, they have to pay for it. Will it happen? It probably will. Do I expect it to be a huge increase? No, I don't.
Okay, that's my only concern, Mr. President, is that if we go up to $24 and somebody says, well, I don't want to pay the 24 now, that's way too much. I'm going to dump it across the street or somewhere else. Then it becomes a problem for the city.
Thank you, Councilor Santinello. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with my colleagues. I would rather evaluate the impact of the $16 increase before we increased it to 24 to see how it's working. I believe Director Signoli said he was going to monitor it, so I would be against an additional increase.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Perez.
I just want to say that we had a couple of committee meetings, and I wish they has come out from the beginning. I was one that had been advocating that we had increased double the amount, and now we are going to be at a triple the amount. So we have to, that's why I wanted increments and see how it works. And if it's a need to come back and assess after we pass the ordinance, so be. But at this point, people are struggling with the increases of the taxes of their homes right now. And it seems to me that $16 versus 25 is high, because we have to look at other, how do I call it, other barriers that we have when it comes to the community. And I'm speaking on behalf that I serve the poorest in the state. So at this point, I will not be in support of it, but I will look for the increments and see how it works. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Perez. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to first thank all my colleagues for making such astute and important observations. I want to reassure everybody that I did not make this motion recklessly. I've been thinking about this for a while now. And it's something that at the time, Councilor Allen brought up himself, I brought up myself in the last meeting. And so you guys make a very good point, that if we increase this from 16, which is what is being suggested, to 24, is it going to possibly increase illegal dumping? Possibly. But we all know you could also make the same argument if you increase it from 8 to 16. So no matter what we do, we're going to be between a rock and a hard place. Not to mention the people that come from outside of the city, where I believe Chris said that some people could pay as much as $60, $65 to dump it here in our city. Something that Chris drove home very clearly. So I ask all of you this question. And believe me, I make this motion sadly because I don't want to increase anything to our residents. If you were my boss, and I come to you and I tell you, we're losing $150,000 in my department every year. Let's be honest, you're going to look at me like I got 4 heads. You're going to be asking me, what the hell are you doing? I'm not okay with losing $150,000 a year. I'm just not okay with it. And we do have a fiduciary responsibility to the city. You know where this is going to reflect later down the road? This is going to reflect on a very important vote that we have coming up called the tax factor. I also said to Chris that we need to step up the enforcement on this. I feel like we could be doing much better enforcement, and what does that look like? I'm not sure. Now, it seems to me that there's different thoughts here that we could look specifically at this mattress increase. We all seen them. On my neighborhood, my own neighborhood, I wake up to tires neatly placed on the tree belt. And yes, sometimes I wake up to mattresses neatly placed on my tree belt. And I know that's a problem throughout the city. I'm just not okay with losing $150,000. And again, this is a motion that I make with my heart in my hand. Mr. President, I think that what I'd be willing to do, it seems that there might be an appetite here, to continue to explore this. If it's the will of the council to pass this today, I will stick to my motion, even if it's defeated, because I want it on the record later on that I'm not costing the city, the residents, $150,000 a year. If there is appetite to send it to committee, then I will withdraw my motion so that we can send it to committee. But I would love to hear what my colleagues will have to say. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, and I think that was what I was going to say earlier. I guess, a point of clarification, because what we're voting on today is to double the rate to $16, not the 25. I know that Chris mentioned, and I think actually Council Davila mentioned at the subcommittee meeting, that why can't we do it to 25? Which I think is a high increase at the moment. But I think it makes sense to increase it to the 16 for now, so that the property managers will have to pay, and we can put a dent into the $150,000 that is being lost annually, because that is costing the taxpayers money, right? So, when we come pretty soon, we're going to be talking about property taxes for our residents, which is something that is, you all know, is near and dear to my heart. And I think that, doing something like this right now, and having Chris, if he decides that he thinks we should increase it to 25, he has to come back to the council before doing that, and then we can have a conversation at that time. But I think at the subcommittee meeting, we agreed that $16 rate for the mattresses was going to be something that we could do, because that is something that, it is the lowest in the area, and it's still the lowest in the area at $16. So I guess I would like for us to continue going the way we were going when we talked about it at the subcommittee meeting, and vote this increase in for now, and then let Chris do his analysis and see what happens with it going forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Edwards.
The appetite of the council, as I'm hearing people make comments, is that they're not in favor of an increase. So in that being the case, I'd like to make a motion, if necessary, to move to question. If we want to go and increase it, then vote for the increase. If you're against the increase and you're in favor of the $16 as requested by the head of DPW, let's vote on that as well.
Okay, there's a motion to move the question. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. So that'll end debate. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to call the question, which will cease debate, and then we'll vote on Councilor Davila's motion to increase the fee to $24. On the motion to call to move the question.
On the motion to move the question, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan. Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield absent. Councilor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more insufficient. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion to increase the fee from $16 to $24.
On the motion, Councilor Walsh.
No.
No, Councilor Allen.
No.
No, Councilor Delgado.
No.
No, Councilor Click Bruce.
No.
No Counselor Govan.
No.
No Counselor Brown.
No.
No Counselor Davila.
No.
No Counselor Curran.
No.
No Counselor Santinello.
No.
No Counselor Edwards.
No.
No Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Perez.
No.
No Counselor Fenton.
Yes. Less than sufficient, motion fails. Okay, any more discussion on the matter? Counselor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, very interesting what just happened.
Microphone.
Sorry. I mean, very interesting what just happened. I was thinking of a very wise counselor, the dean of the council, who says, I know how to count votes. But I still don't know, I believe that the will is to make it $16 now. But I do have a question for Chris. Chris, you have mentioned, and some council have mentioned, to come back before. Define come back before us. Define what does that mean? Is it going to be a year later, 2 years later, a month later?
At a minimum, it would probably be a year, because I would want to see how it would operate for a year. And if I were have to come back, it would be an ordinance change. So we would be back with this change as well as any others if we decided to do any others in there. But it would be in front of the councilors, and it would probably be for a year, so that I could at least see from a long period of time what we're dealing with financially.
Also, Chris, the reason that I keep pounding on this issue is I'm not okay with this $150,000 deficit. I'm just not okay with it. And you did mention about stepping up enforcement, correct?
Absolutely.
Hopefully that will recoup some of the money, some of the $150,000.
Yeah, we've discontinued service to a number of places that I think are flaunting the ordinance to begin with. And every one of them to date has been a property management company. And we're still gonna be continuing to do that because some of the other modifications that we have in the ordinance as well, it's gonna make our enforcement a lot easier.
Right. Chris, like always, thank you for your work. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Davila. Any other counselors on the order? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Cliff Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yeah.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Perez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order passes. Any more business?
Thank you,
Madam Clerk?
councilors.
There's not.
Okay, councilors, we will stand adjourned until a week from tonight, October 28th, 7 o'clock. We have a hearings meeting. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.